completed here. Let's go ahead and click close. Let's fire it up and let's see the effect by lowering our torque table values just slightly. Let's go ahead and fire it up. Let's jump back in the scanner. Let's go ahead and start our scan. And I'm gonna go and run this. I'm gonna bring this right around, let's say 2,000 RPM should be fine here on the dyno. And I'm just gonna drive it real quick so I can talk over it, and we'll collect the data and we'll take a look at the IPC wheel torque errors. And usually by changing what we've changed in the table, we should see a definite decrease in IPC wheel torque errors if we're going the right way. If we're not, we might find an increase, which points to then having to go back in and instead of lowering the torque values, raising the torque values, and then calculating the inverse. Let's see what's gonna happen here. So I'm just gonna drive it right about 2,000. So notice here we're getting no IPC wheel torque errors. So far the throttle feels good, there's no surging. That looks perfect. So just by going in and making a small change, that's all it took to get things back in line. I'm gonna go ahead and double check all of the rest of this in the table here, and then we'll verify that the IPC wheel torque error looked good. And then if it does, then we'll take the changes that we've made to the OP table and we can transfer them all throughout the rest of our torque-based tables. Then we can use the pivot calculator, or we can just manually go and update that area, because the rest of it looked good in terms of getting onto the throttle and transitioning into boost. When I was checking all of that, that all looked appropriate. So little changes, 5, 10 pound-feet of change in the torque tables, all it takes to correct your IPC wheel torque errors, as we can see right there. So the surging, at that point, I don't feel anything at all. And the IPC wheel torque errors look good. So I think that validated that area. Let me go ahead and check the rest of the table. I'll be back here in just a few minutes, and then we can take a look at the data log, and then we'll talk about what other changes we need to do and update into our torque-based control. I'll be right back. Okay, so I populated some more of the table to collect all the data. I went up to about 5,000 RPM just to verify everything, and we didn't hit areas much past 5,000, so the rest of the table here might need some adjustments, but I'm not gonna be able to know that until I actually start to drive it off the dyno, maybe collect some more data in the drivability test, which we're gonna be taking a look at here in another tutorial coming up. Actually, the last tutorial, we'll look at off dyno drivability. But looking at this now, by making that subtle change, or the small changes in torque, notice that we have no IPC wheel torque errors now being reported at all. This is exactly what we want to see. Now, anything less than 50 is acceptable. You'll find even stock, there are some IPC wheel torque errors, because from car to car, Ford can't perfectly calibrate the torque tables. The torque tables are very close, and there's always a margin of error. But when we're doing our custom calibrating and tuning, we can actually go in and deal with that and start to resolve it. Now, one thing I do want to point out here, and we take a look at our throttle, we're finding here the throttle. Let's just kind of scoot over here into this area right here. If we're taking a look, our throttle body here is going to be in an orange color, and then we see our accel pedal here that's going to be in that purplish, pinkish color. We're finding that it's relatively smooth in terms of the throttle body movement. And we're not finding reading throttle surging. If we had throttle surge, it'd have a up and down jarring type of effect. I'm not really seeing that. There is a slight bit of rippling, but it's completely acceptable within a closed loop type of control, because it is controlling that throttle plate in a closed loop type of manner. So that's completely fine. The car drives very, very smooth here in the dyno. Now, we've only mapped out our OP table. We still have the rest of the torque tables that we need to deal with. Now, we can use our pivot calculator, which we have in our Excel spreadsheet here. We jump into the torque tuning window. This allows you to copy your original stock OP torque and inverse tables, and then put in your newly calculated torque table, which will then give you the proper inverse value that it would be calculated for the new torque values that you have in your table. And then we could run a pivot function by going and copying and pasting all the other map point stock and inverse tables here in blue. So we would go from our calibration file, copy the stock map point 0, let's say, tables here, so torque and inverse, and then the green would be the new updated tables that will flip it for or recalculate it for the putting back into the file. So the green would be what we want to copy and paste for map point 0. So this is map point 0 all the way out to 14. So we find there's a tremendous amount that we'd have to copy and paste. Now in this case, because the tables are close and we're only really editing that one small area of concern, we can go in now and actually just manually do this. It's really not a big deal. So we can go here to our engine torque, and we know we took about 10 pound-feet of torque here from roughly 2 to 4,000 or 2 to 3,000. We can just go in here and we can just lower this down. So let me go ahead and do this. So I'm going to go and take away 10 pound-feet of torque right here in this range. And then I'm going to just interpolate this in here, vertically, horizontally interpolate all this because everything else looked good there. Now, we can use the HP Tuners calculator or you can use the Excel spreadsheet calculator. I mentioned I like to use my calculator, but just so you can see what's going to happen here, and we're going to check all this, we're going to go in and just copy what we changed right here. And we're going to jump into the torque inverse calculator. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here. And you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.